wants to use artificial intelligence to know how f***ed up you are before getting a ride. You're watching What's Trending. I'm Martine Bierman. Make sure to subscribe for more social media and trending news stories daily. A patent application shows the ride-sharing app filed a patent for AI technology that could potentially detect if the user of the app is intoxicated. But how could it know that, you ask? Well, it's not breathalyzer-based. The AI will use an algorithm to determine if you're using the app differently than normal. So, if you make a lot of typos, or walking slower or staggering more than usual, and the location and time that you're requesting a ride. So, if the app sees you brutally misspell the name of your own street while you're standing outside a bar at 2:30 in the morning in Times Square, it's gonna say, "You crunk." You crunk. But what does Uber plan to do with that information? They're not spelling it out just yet, but the patent application says they're trying to reduce undesired consequences of uncharacteristic user states. For example, drunk passengers can be a lot to deal with. They can be belligerent, messy, maybe they smell like booze, throw up in your car. Uber could utilize that information to pair them with appropriate drivers, or prevent them from getting an Uber pool, which places them with other passengers. Can you just imagine if Uber decided to pair one belligerent passenger with another belligerent passenger, just like, that poor Uber driver. There's no comprehensive data available, but plenty of Uber drivers have made complaints about being assaulted by intoxicated passengers.
Just last month, this Uber driver in San Diego says he was assaulted by drunk passengers. He picked them up just after 1 a.m. and says he knew almost immediately they were drunk. Things turned bad very quickly. After one man starts throwing up out of the window, he pulled over to ask the two to get out. Then he says the passenger next to him started attacking him.
I know of one Uber driver who told me a story where the passenger was so drunk in his car that he literally had to carry her to the front steps of her apartment and then bang on the door until somebody opened up the door for her. But this technology may not just be to protect the drivers, because you're more likely to be assaulted by an Uber driver when you're intoxicated. A recent report said that over 100 Uber drivers have been accused of sexually assaulting or otherwise abusing passengers. And a significant percentage of those assaulted were at least partially inebriated at the time. And those are just the ones that have been reported. But of course, if Uber suspects that a driver is sexually assaulting passengers, they probably shouldn't be driving anyway. But this is at least one potential use for the technology if there are preferred drivers for those drunk passengers. As the popularity of ride-sharing apps has risen, so has the option of using them as a designated driver. I've called Uber when I've been drinking because I'd so much rather call somebody from a ride-sharing app than get in a car and drive myself. Ever. So ultimately this could be a good thing, but Uber does need to make sure that passengers who rely on them are safe. Some Uber drivers have floated the idea that they should be paid more for picking up drunk passengers, since they can often be a hassle to deal with. I do know that Uber drivers get a certain amount of money back if a passenger barfs in their car. Again, another story I've gotten from Uber drivers. That could leave a drunk passenger to try really hard to act sober to avoid extra charges. We were trying to think of some other apps that might be able to use this technology. Maybe the Amazon app could have a built-in breathalyzer to determine that maybe you shouldn't be buying 100 tiny top hats for your pet toad at 3 a.m. Or, if Words with Friends knows you're totally wasted, it could accept words like squibble and butt stick. Because I love to play Words with Friends at 2 a.m. after coming home from a bar. What do you guys think? Would you want Uber to know that you've had a little bit too much to drink? Let us know in the comments. And for more trends, head to whatstrending.com.